Hello, friends and enemies. It's me, V. I have PCOS. That is why I have a beard. I want to talk to you, of course, about Anniversary, the movie. Okay, now I'm going over the movie because I have seen some reviews where people were like, well, this is what I think it meant, and I think it meant this. And I'm like, I think it meant this. So first I'm going to tell you a quick synopsis, then we're going to talk about it. Now, this movie is about Diane Lane and Kyle Chandler. They're married. They have 3 kids: Madeline Brewster, Dylan O'Brien, and McKenna Grace. Now, Dylan O'Brien is with this woman, Phoebe from Bridgerton. Now, that's not their characters' names. The characters' names are Elaine, Paul, Josh, Anna, and Cynthia, and Elizabeth / Liz, but I just feel it's easier if I just say the actor's name so you can remember their faces more. Anyway, the way it starts is you have Diane Lane and Kyle Chandler, who are celebrating their 25th anniversary, where they meet Dylan O'Brien, their son's girlfriend, Phoebe from Bridgerton. Now, the thing is, Phoebe remembers Diane Lane and says to her, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't remember me." Well, Diane Lane looks her up and goes, "Oh yeah, I remember you, bitch. I remember you." She tells her husband Kyle, she's like, "That bitch said some radical shit." Now, at the beginning of the movie, Diane, when she first started it, because she is a professor in this movie, she said, "I'm a centrist. I am not a liberal. I'm just a centrist." Already setting it up for, you can't be centrist with this shit. You can't be centrist with this shit. And the girlfriend, she's like, this girlfriend said a lot of radical things about getting rid of Democrats and Republicans and having basically a fascist state where there was a dictator that ruled everybody. And essentially, everybody had to conform or else you would go to jail. This girl argued for it. Diane Lane was like, this is some fucked up school shit. The school, which she worked at because she was a professor, said, yeah, this is some fucked up shit. And the girl, Phoebe from Bridgerton, got in some beef with some people and she got expelled from the school. So she's had a grudge for 8 fucking years. Why is this important? Oh, bitch, it's going to become important very soon, okay? Just keep that in the back of your mind. She got expelled from school. Now, when it ends up happening. So before Phoebe and Dylan leave, Phoebe gives Diane a book and says, have a great one. Diane says, let me go see. She sees a book. It's called The Change. It's the same thesis that she had written before. When Diane Lane had looked at it and was like, this is some fucked up shit. She's like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? She's laughing because she thinks it's ridiculous. She sees it, the forward, which says, to the haters and academic stranglers. And Diane Lane is like, who the fuck is going to listen to this shit? This is so stupid. 2 years later, everybody and their mother is now excited about this book. This book, which is very similar to Project 2025, tells everybody exactly what's going to fucking happen. Also, Phoebe from Bridgerton is hiked up by a company called Cumberland Company that gives her and Dylan O'Brien a ton of money because they're married, and is employing them and saying, hey, we want you guys to go and make sure this plan comes to fruition. This is 2 years into it. We're at the parents' anniversary again. And Paul's like, well, I don't want to talk about politics. Why do we have to talk about politics? Kyle Chandler, the father, is like, I don't want to talk about politics. And, I didn't read the book, but blah, blah, blah. Now this time, Phoebe is pregnant with twins. And the family dynamic is starting to shift because Diane Lane said, hey, do not be with this girl. You don't understand. You were a good writer's son. And Dylan O'Brien's like, you don't care about me. You don't fucking care about me. You just think of me as a student. Which, motherfucker, she wasn't. She was treating you like her son by saying that you were a good writer. So we already see male fragility and what that can encase because, well, he's crying and Phoebe just laps that up and continues to do things to him behind the scenes. Now, somebody said, why is it taking, why is it so quick to have these actions happen? We're not seeing how it's implemented, blah, 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 or what they're doing. I feel that the reason why this movie happened in the course of 5 years, where you get to see the characters, where they're meeting for birthdays or the parents' anniversary, as a, hey, see how quickly a current regime, or I'm sorry, current presidency has taken over and changed things, made it to where they've cut back on food safety, they've cut back on traffic control and making sure things are safer because, quote unquote, evil DEI. You know how quickly that all started to happen, and then we had things happen, and we've been having things happen, constant recalls of food. Yeah, shit's happened quickly. Another person was like, well, why don't they tell us what was going on? We're dealing with a family where the majority of them are not political. There was only one person, Madeline Brewster. Her character is the only one that is political. And because she is so political, she ends up almost dying twice. So, yeah. She has to go on the run because they called her a terrorist the first time. A bunch of people attacked her while she was talking about the regime and said, hey, this is bullshit. And she said, don't you remember history? Are you guys sheep? Do you not remember history and how things happen? And they attacked her. Everybody else in the family, except for Dylan O'Brien and Phoebe from Bridgerton, are just like, I don't know. Now, McKenna Grace, after Madeline Brewster leaves the first time, she runs the first time because, again, she was almost killed, and she's like, fuck this shit. She starts to become political. Because she's like, oh my gosh, if this happened to my sister, this could happen to anybody. So she starts to really become political. The issue is it's a little too late by this time because we are entering year 3 or 4. And we get to watch Dylan O'Brien become Richard Spencer with his haircuts and everything as he takes over, and he's very cocky. And you have Phoebe from Bridgerton, who is very quiet and demure, and she falls in the line. But again, she was the architect. Which brings me to that thing. You know that thing I told you about, right? Fascism wins. Fascism wins. Because this woman, she just wanted revenge. She wanted revenge on her professor who told her, hey, this is some fucked up shit you got. You need to slow your roll. Instead of her doing inward thoughts, she doubled down on it. And I read or watched somebody that was like, well, I would like to know why this happened. Why the fuck would you want to go? Let me Quentin Tarantino that. When you try to give a story on why a fascist or a racist or a Nazi does something, you run the risk that the audience will then sympathize with that Nazi, with that fascist, with that racist. American History X, or American History X. You remember how everyone, like at the end when he goes back to being racist, people have talked about, there have been talks about how that helped Nazis, because people said, see, look at this, you know why he did it, I get why he did it. You never want to give them a chance to explain why they did something, because they will use it to get as many followers as possible. Lastly, considering how quickly everything ran with us, yeah, you don't need to be spoon-fed what happened on why all this shit's going down. We see what's going down. We saw the things that were going down. And the scary thing is, right now, I'm happy that people are reacting and they're doing something. I'm just fearful because, as the movie shows, when you don't react, by the time you react, it's too late. And I think we're at that point.